Is in my mind frame, Johnny Mnemonic, the chronic playing mind games. Full vodka tonics on rocks, and then my mind change. I point out every hater known, then assign.
And yes, indeed, this is Rapping with Leiberman. That is World of Fantasy, featuring Lil Wayne, done by our special guest today. We're going to get to him in just one moment, but it's my pleasure, of course, to welcome you all in to the Rap Room. Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is a presentation of EveryJoe.com, and what we call it is real news, rappers' points of view. We're going to get to all of the news and politics of the week in a moment, but let's begin, as we do every week, with the rap. And for the rap, I want to welcome in my very, very special guest. You know him most likely, and if you don't, you're about to get to know him. His name is DJ Boskind, and he's known as Question. He's a hip-hop artist based out of Texas, fresh off of performing at South by Southwest. And good evening to you, Question.
How are you, John?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Living and breathing, so that's always a plus.
All right, how did you get that nickname Question?
Funny, my grandfather gave it to me when I was real young. In the neighborhood, it just kind of stuck. I was the little kid who, and I'm probably still this person to this day, but I asked a million questions about everything. And so my grandfather would call me, "Oh, you the little question." And then the neighborhood kids picked up on it, and it just kind of stuck. And at first I hated it, but later on in life, when I kind of became entrenched in hip hop, the name actually made sense to me. And it was a longer version. At one point, I called myself Question the Unknown, but I shortened it, of course, so now it's just Question.
All right, what is the best part about being a hip-hop artist, Question?
I mean, there's so many intangibles to it, but for me, it's just being able to express myself. It's cheaper than therapy. For me, I get to speak on a lot of things, and I've evolved as an artist, so to me, it's the expression. The expression part is important to me. That may not necessarily be the deciding factor for a lot of people who are trying to be an artist, but for me, that's what it was, just being able to express myself. And then, of course, the reaction that you get from people, good and bad, plays into it. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Are rappers misunderstood?
Definitely. I think in a lot of ways, and more so the artists that are signed to record labels. You have a lot of PR people. I was signed to a label for a while. I was signed to Epic. You get a lot of people who come in to the fold who want to mold you and guide you and say, this is good for your career, this is bad for your career, don't speak on this, you should speak on that. So I've watched a lot of guys that I know in the industry that are super intelligent, that don't always get portrayed that way. So yeah, I think rappers are definitely misunderstood. And then there's some that aren't. There's some that are clear what they're about. But for the most part, I think anyone who does art, period, or does music, period, is probably misunderstood at times.
All right, well, now it's time to talk news. We call it the one-on-one rap. And for the one-on-one rap today, we have a lot of different topics. I want to start with this question. You wrote a President Obama-inspired song called It's Time, Stand Up. So my question for you is, has the president lived up to your expectations?
Yes and no. So at the time, I was very, very involved. I'm still very involved in community activism, and that's something that's a passion of mine. So there was a lot of things going on at that time. As far as expectations, yes and no. I think there's a lot of things that President Obama tried to do that didn't pan out for whatever reason, or was being obstructed by the other guys on the other side of the aisle. But politics is a real tricky game. You have to sell yourself. And he talked a good game, and there's things that he's done that I think are great, and there's other things that I totally disagree with. So I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I think that's an advantage these days. So because I'm neither, I can kind of look at it a little more objectively than people that are on either side of the aisle.
What do you hope he accomplishes with the rest of his term?
I mean, for me, I don't think there's any elections. He kind of said it, and everybody made a big joke about it, but he already won the election. At this point, I think he should just go for broke. The things that he really wants to stand on and really run for. One of the things that I'm passionate about is prison reform. and the drug war. It's something that I just saw today that he talked to David Simon, the creator of The Wire, about. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a very interesting piece. So for me, those are things that are close to my heart.
Do you have friends sitting in jail on minor drug charges and you're wondering why?
I do. I have a friend who's doing 20 years in the federal penitentiary because somebody said something about him. There was no actual physical evidence, but somebody implicated him, and he's doing 20 years in federal prison for it. My father was a drug addict growing up and spent time in and out of prison. I know how that can affect a community and a family, and especially a child. So it's something that I'm pretty I guess defiant against, and something that I hope to see change. The problem with it is there's a lot of money involved in the private prison industry. So it's real hard to go up against when you're saying, hey, we're going to take money out of your pocket, or we want to change things that may ultimately affect you financially. It's a hard fight.
How did that impact you, your father being an addict? How did that either inspire you as a performer, or, positive, negative impacts?
I mean, for me, it's what led me into what I do. I was raised around a lot of Hispanic and Black kids, predominantly Hispanic, that had similar situations where their father was incarcerated, and we bonded over that. And the music is what bonded us. So I think in a lot of ways I owe what I do and who I am to that experience. But it's hard, man, especially, thinking back, being 11, 12 years old and have to go into a penitentiary and talk to your father behind glass. Like he's an animal, that has a psychological effect on a young man. So it took a lot of mentoring from other people in the community to get me to a point where I could be a normal person, and I know how hard that is. So yeah, it affected me good and bad. There's still probably some demons that I have because of it, but at the same time, I think it was a blessing in disguise because it made me who I am.
All right, let's get back to politics for a moment. You mentioned you weren't a Democrat or Republican. I got to read you this. About 1/3 of Republicans think President Obama poses a bigger threat to the U.S. than Russian President Vladimir Putin and Syria's brutal dictator. This is a new Reuters poll. It asked Americans to rate threats on a scale of 1 to 5. 5's an imminent threat. 36% of Republicans rated the president as an imminent threat, ahead of Putin and ahead of Bashar al-Assad. What do you make of that?
I think it's crazy. I mean, to be honest, I want to know, I would love to have that conversation of why you think he's a bigger threat. Most of the stuff that you hear is a lot of hyperbole and a lot of talking points. There's a lot of mudslinging that goes on. Unfortunately, there's people who stick to whatever those talking points are and live and breathe by them. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me that people think that, but at the same time, it's kind of disturbing to me that someone actually thinks that he posed a bigger threat than, say, a Vladimir Putin or Bashar. I mean, that's insane to me.
Now we have at least one woman who could throw her hat into the ring for the Republican nomination, former CEO of HP, Carly Fiorina. Could she win?
I don't think so. The reason being, and this is kind of a scary thought to me. I don't know if it's definitely a scary thought, but one of the things that's disturbing to me, as a child, I grew up with George Bush, and then Bill Clinton, and then another George Bush, and then now we have Barack Obama, and it looks like possibly we're either going to have Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush. Just from looking at it now, I think because those names are so large and so big, and you have so much funding and people getting behind the name, I think in politics, brand recognition is something that is actually becoming a thing, sadly. So, I mean, Obama did kind of debunk that in 2008 when no one really thought he had a shot of beating Hillary, and he did. So who knows? But if I was going to bet on it right now, I would say no.
Is Hillary beatable?
I think anybody's beatable. But, I mean, let's be honest, not many Democrats are throwing their hat in the ring right now. I don't think anyone is really opposing her. There's some Democrats that I really like. I like Elizabeth Warren a lot. I like some of the message that she has. Not that I agree with everything she says. Even on the Republican side, there's people I like. I don't know if I can say that Hillary Clinton is beatable at this point. But I think as we get further in the next 12 months, we'll kind of see an idea of what she's up against.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. I mean, Governor OMalley from Maryland, my home state, talking about getting into the race. hasn't made any announcements yet. Let's switch gears for a second to that horrible plane crash in Germany. And the big issue are these privacy protections. In Germany, the privacy protections are among the most stringent of anywhere in the world. That's why we didn't know that this co-pilot had a mental health history in terms of talking about suicide, in terms of being on a number of medications. They generally have to rely on the pilots telling the truth during self-reporting. So my question for you, is, where's the middle ground between privacy and public safety?
I think that's a problem that we have in the States too, even with gun control. Mental health is such an issue that we skip over. I think there has to be a middle ground. Unfortunately, you want to protect people's privacy, but I think there has to be some kind of database. Now you go into privacy issues with that, and of course you worry about people hacking into information and being able to steal someone's health records, and there's a gray area there. But I definitely think there has to be some kind of middle ground to kind of maybe proactively or preemptively kind of deter these things from happening. I think even when we talk about gun control, the same thing. A lot of these people have mental health issues, and we're not aware of them because there isn't a system in place to kind of prevent those kind of people from gaining access to weapons, or in this case, gaining access to a plane. It's kind of crazy that it's that strict that we don't have something in place to at least prevent it.
All right, you talk about guns. You're there in San Antonio. Are there too many guns on the street?
Of course, you're asking a Texan, so that's a loaded question. But yeah, there is. There's weapons everywhere. You can go around the corner and get a gun. It's really easy in Texas to get a gun. I have a brother. My brother is actually a big pro-gun guy, but he's smart about it. He's not someone who just thinks that everybody should be able to get a gun. He believes in background checks. He believes in a lot of the things that should be in place. It's just funny to me because when you hear people talk in this argument, it's like they're trying to take our guns from us, and I find that almost like a joke. It's crazy to think there's so many weapons out there. It's almost impossible for someone to come take our guns. So yeah, I think there is too many, but what can you do at this point? There's so many. I don't know what we could actually do to stop that.
Well, speaking of guns, there was this shooting down in Panama City, Florida, while on spring break. So now officials there are looking at ways to restrict spring break partying and things like that. What do you think they should do?
I mean, for me, I don't think anyone should stop living. That's one of the things that we kind of do. We get caught up in the fear, and we start panicking, and we stop doing the things that we do in our everyday lives. If there's some protocol they can put in place to prevent some of those things from happening, sure. But at the same time, I don't think that people should stop, doing what they've always done. So that's where you go into rights as a human being. We all have rights to enjoy ourselves a certain way, and I don't think that we should jump the gun, so to say, just to prevent stuff like that, isolated incidents like that from happening.
All right, now we've gotten to the part of our program that we call Wrap It Up, and we have a lot to wrap up quickly. I want to start with this. Your neck of the woods, University of Texas has a head basketball coach opening now. They got rid of their coach. Who should they hire?
Man, Rick Barnes was there for a long time. I don't know. The University of Texas gets so many good athletes. We had Kevin Durant. We had LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, we've had some great players come through UT. So if I was to say, I mean, there's some names out there, some ex-head coaches in the NBA I think be a good fit. I actually think, I'm of course from San Antonio, so I'm a big Spurs fan. There's even some guys on the Spurs bench, assistant coaches that I heard someone's name mentioned today, Ime Udoka, who I think would be a perfect fit for that job. So,
who's going to win the championship? You got Kentucky, Wisconsin, Duke, and the Cinderella Michigan State.
If I was betting, of course, I'd say Kentucky. They're so long.
Oh, come on. That's a safe bet question. Come on.
It's a safe bet. I'm not going to make the safe bet, though. I saw the other night with Notre Dame how close they came to losing. I'm actually going to pick Michigan State, man. I like Tom Izzo. I think he's a hell of a coach. So, yeah, if I was to just go with my gut, I think Michigan State's going to shock the world and win the national championship.
So you're saying Kentucky will lose?
I am.
All right, and this is from EveryJoe.com. They ask the question, is free speech dead in universities? You're in a big university place. Right. Is free speech dead?
I don't think so. I meet people every day who are able to speak their mind. So, yeah, there's some restraints on it, but I don't think so. Not at all. I think there's too many people expressing what they feel from every angle. So, no, not at all.
All right. Now, as we wrap it up, give us a sense of what you're working on, what your projects are, and drop a rhyme for us if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, I'm working on a couple new projects. I have a new album coming out called Triluminati by Nature. That's a mouthful that I'm working on that'll hopefully be out in the summer. Doing everything on my own, independent now after the whole record label thing. Just got done doing South by Southwest. I'm kind of, like I said, evolving as an artist and being more myself than when I was on a record label. So that's exciting, but at the same time, there's some fear involved with that because I have a fan base who's used to hearing one thing and now they're going to start hearing another. So
what's the biggest change going to be?
I'm just older, man. I have kids. I'm definitely more involved in the community and even politics to a degree, even though I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm very involved in that. So a lot of that comes across in the music. So yeah, there's just more of that. More talking about self-responsibility is something that I'm big on right now, and I have mentors that we talk about that daily. So that's starting to come across in the music.
Drop a rhyme for us. Give us something. Give us a little something.
Let me give you something intimate. Music played with no instruments, no drums built up in increments, just words of a poet providing stimulants. How many police shooting incidents will it take before the privilege become militant? I ain't speaking to black folks, I'm speaking to my own race, my own conscience in the mirror to my own face. What is my creative space if it's empty and hollow, like bullets, brains, and 40-ounce bottles? I feel the oxygen in my nostrils burn from lack of gospel under the watchful eyes of the apostles. Liquor drowns my tonsils, the burden all of it colossal, riding around with 100 pounds behind my stereo console. Paranoid, my hands rheumatoid from whipping the pot. Barely making rent, but I'm rapping like I'm pimping the yacht. Attempting to drop this mindset is harder than duplicating very sad to sidestep. But I imply depth as much as I can, realizing the true definition of gangster is being a man.
Very nice. I like it. I like it. Are we a divided society right now between blacks and whites?
Yes and no. I think there's things in place. I mean, it goes off into a whole conspiracy rant. I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I think systemically there is a divide, and it's being pushed daily. As far as I see the opposite of that, though. I see because of hip hop, there's a lot of unification. You have a lot of guys that are speaking out. I wish more Caucasian artists would actually speak out. We're part of this culture, so we have a responsibility to speak out and try to unify everyone, not just blacks and whites, but Hispanics and Asians and everyone of every race, culture, and creed. I think it's important. Music is a great bridge. And this is, to me, the generation of hip hop. I mean, you have soccer moms who listen to Jay-Z. So I think we are the voice. You know, you have an older generation that is definitely trying to keep it divided. And I think even with the presidency of Obama, that divide is even kind of lengthened a little bit. But to me, this generation that I'm in and the generation that my children are going to be part of, I think, you know, there's a great chance for us to actually bring all that together.
Well, that's good stuff, Question. We want to tell our audience they can follow you on Twitter. It's there on the screen, @Question210. We really appreciate your time and your good insights, and we wish you the best of luck. And you'll come back and see us when your new record drops.
I'll definitely be back, John. I appreciate it, man.
Good to see you. That is Question. It's really good to hear from him. A lot of informed insights there. I want to thank you for watching our program, Rapping with Leiberman, presented by EveryJoe.com. Next week, MI from the Constant Deviants. You can subscribe to the EveryJoe YouTube channel. You can tweet me @ReporterJon, @ReporterJon. And as we leave you tonight, we're going to go out with some sounds of some things that Question has worked on. And once again, thank you so much for your time. And for now, that is Rapping with Leiberman. Listen to this.
Holy yeah! Where'd you find this? Empire, Lil Wayne, Question, Cash Money, 3, Dope Supply. Yeah. Living in a world of fantasy.
music up in my phone.